Hey everybody, welcome to Wholesaling. We're going to do the series about all the different real estate techniques that we do webinars on. And we're going to start tonight with wholesaling. We're still getting a lot of people that ask what wholesaling is and how to figure out if it's a good deal. So it looks like we need a little bit more attention on it. So we're going to run you through one of the very lowest risk, fastest ways to make money in real estate investing. We are going to start with the 5 main steps. Of course, there are a bunch of little steps that go along the way, but if you just think about wholesaling broken down into 5 main things you need to do, sometimes that can make it a little bit easier to wrap your head around. So the very first one would be to find buyers. Finding buyers means that you can eventually make money. If you don't have any buyers for your properties, it doesn't matter how good a deals you find. So how can you do this with no money out of your pocket, or sometimes just a little bit of money? If you can do it with no money out of your pocket, then you have absolutely zero risk in the deal, really. And how much money can you make on each of your deals? Where do you find the buyers that want to buy your wholesale deals? Obviously, they're out there somewhere, right? But knowing how and when to find them and what they're looking for, how to meet their needs, and how to make money in the process of meeting their needs. We're going to talk about that. Also finding the good deals. How do you find the good properties? I had a gal I talked with last night, and she said, well, I understand what wholesaling is, and I have my first investor, but I don't even know how to find out if it's a good deal or not. So that is some of what we teach you, is how do you analyze the deals to make sure that they're actually profitable. So how do you negotiate your contracts, how to write a good contract. There are definitely things that can get you in trouble and other things that are pretty template, so we can help you figure out what is critical to have in a contract. And the one that makes everybody the happiest, when you get to sell your contract or you get an assignment fee and you make the money, and then you get to rinse and repeat and go do it all over again. Steve, do you have any comments about that?
No, I just want people to be clear that what we're talking about here when we say what we will cover, this is what we'll cover in this webinar. If you register for the wholesaling webinar, these are the kind of things we will be going into in detail in that webinar.
Exactly. So we have the paid webinars. These obviously are just your free Monday night ones that you're all welcome to come to. But if you want to learn in more detail and have accountability to go with it, then that's what we do in our paid webinars. So we have 6 weeks of information, and then we have daily accountability and monthly calls to make sure you're reaching your goals, because goals don't all happen at once and overnight, so you have to track them and make progress along the way. We do have a little bit of background noise, so I'm going to keep kind of close tabs on the mic. Steve and Ty, are you hearing any feedback on your end?
I was hearing something that was from somewhere else, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that it's coming out of the audience.
Well, they're all muted right now, so I'm still hearing some feedback. If you guys want to mute yourself unless you're talking, that might help too.
I do think it is us as well, so we can do that.
Okay. That would be super good. All right, and then the last thing on there about how to do a double closing, we do teach you if you can't just assign the contract and you need to actually close, that's a whole nother set of things you need to worry about. Not worry necessarily, but you need to know how to do it so that you can close with your seller and then turn around and reclose with your buyer and still make money, so all of your profit isn't eaten up in that transaction from A to B and B to C. So in week 1, when we go over finding buyers, we talk to you about where to look and what to ask. You obviously have to find out what they want, because you can't go shopping for somebody unless you know what they want you to buy for them. And that's really what you're doing when you're wholesaling, is you're out there finding the deals for the other people that want to purchase them. So if you just think of it as, hey, I'm just out there getting a little list of what my people want, matching up with properties that meet those needs and wants, I can make money in the in-between, so that's nice. It's nice and low risk.
Yeah, it's real important to make sure that you get the details out of the people when you interview them. So,
Yeah.
you know, like Charlie Brown and Linus here. Linus is just saying, I want to be outrageously happy, but You're going to have people give you those kind of responses, and you just need to drill down and get the details out of them in order to
Yeah,
really find out what they want. So
right.
that's a real important piece of this.
Yeah, you know what? That's a really good point, Steve. So if I said, well, sure, you want to be outrageously happy, but what does that look like to you, Steve? Because that's going to look different to you than it does to me. So what does happy look like to you?
Right.
That was not a rhetorical question.
Oh, you want me to answer that question?
Just as an example so they can see, and then I'm going to do the real estate example of when you're talking to investors. We'll spend a minute on that. But, you know, when you pointed out the cute cartoon, I thought, yeah, you know, that really is a big answer. Well, what does everybody want? Everybody wants to be happy and financially free. Well, why do you want to be financially free? That's a different reason. I have different reasons I want to be financially free than Steve or Donald or Araceli or you want. So just give us a couple ideas, because this goes to show how everybody's happy is a little different, and every investor buyer's happy is a little bit different. So why do you want to be happy? What does
for
that
me
look
to
like?
be outrageously happy, I would want to be able to be in a place to where I had freedom, the freedom to do what I want to do and what I need to do. Would mean financial freedom, you know, freedom from that kind of bondage of debt. I would also want to be able to make some kind of contribution. I want to be able to make a difference. I want to have great relationships with my friends and my family. And if I had those things in place and I had good health, I would be outrageously happy.
Mm, excellent. So one technique that I learned a long, long time ago from a different, actually a business coach, not a real estate coach, but she taught us to drill down. So I'm going to push you one level deeper on some of that. Why do you want that financial freedom? Because you mentioned you want to give, you want to be a contribution to this world. You definitely have that heart about you. But the way you want to contribute to the world is slightly different than the way I want to contribute to the world. So what does that look like? Go even deeper into what contribution looks like to you.
I'll tell you what, over the weekend I saw some videos of some people that were doing different kinds of volunteer work. These guys went to Greece. I never thought about going to Greece, but there's a huge refugee problem in Greece, and these people just packed up, went to Greece. They were doing some really important things for people there, relieving pain. And they could do that because they had means and the freedom to go do something like that. And so that's kind of what I'm talking about. And I don't know exactly what mission would be or what kind of legacy I'd want to leave behind, but I do know that in order to be able to do the kinds of things that I want to do, I'm going to need resources and I'm going to need time and freedom.
Okay, excellent. So you guys need to be doing the same thing, not just for your investors, but also for yourself, because the clearer you are on where you're going, the faster and better you're going to get there, but it also helps you figure out how to guide somebody else that direction. Now, you're not going to be their real estate coach or necessarily anything to them other than a finder of deals, but the more you know about them and their situation and what they want, if they want an empire of rentals, they want 40 rental properties that just cash flow like crazy, and when they have that financial freedom, they're going to travel the world with their family. That is one way that you can get to know your investor very well, is to ask them about what they want, not just what types of properties, but why do they want that. And that kind of relationship can take a little while to develop with them, but I promise you, the better that I could always find out what people wanted that money for, the different kinds of deals I could put in front of them and explain why I thought that might be a good match for them. But it also helped me serve them the very, very best. So I would like for you guys to focus not only on happy, but what about this? And then we're moving on, because I told Steve we're keeping this one shorter tonight. So you can all know we're going to be done earlier tonight. Steve, if I were to ask you, I just met you at a real estate investing club, and I said, Steve, nice to meet you. What kind of properties are you looking to purchase?
I'm looking for properties that I could easily turn around. So typically that's going to mean a 3-bedroom bathroom at entry-level price on a nice neighborhood without anything that is going to detract from it, like being close to the freeway or a garbage dump or anything else that would detract from the values of the property there. But style-wise, I'm looking for a conventional kind of thing, so I don't really want a split level. I want anything that has a flat roof. I'm looking for maybe a ranch style or a two-story, something that's not too old, so maybe something not older than the 70s. And the kind of things I'd be looking for. I want also something that has a lot of upside potential, so the more messed up it is, the better off the deal will be.
Okay, so you mentioned that you want to turn that around. So are you looking only for properties that you can resell right now, or are you interested in any rentals as well?
Eventually, I would be interested in rentals. Right now, I'm looking for building up cash reserves to where I could be able to qualify for a bunch of rental properties. So I'd be looking at maybe doing 2 to 3 kind of wholesale or buy, fix, and flip kind of deals, and then pick up a rental property. And I'm probably keeping that pattern until I got to the point to where my cash flow was taking care of the buy, fix, and flip. And then most of the things I would want to do would be buy and hold with an occasional fix and flip or a wholesale deal on properties that were still profitable but really fit the profile of things I want to work with.
And when you say really profitable, what do you mean? What kind of cash or return are you looking for?
On a rental property, I'd be looking for something that might give me $300 a month in positive cash flow or better in an area that's got some appreciation going on. So maybe something around 4 to 5% appreciation would be a basement for me.
And what about your fix and flips? What do you look for on those?
I want to make at least 10% of the after repair value as profit.
Okay, great. Well, I look forward to working with you. I'll give you a call sometime soon, and here's my number in case you need to contact me before I get a hold of you.
Very good. Thank you.
That's a little bit about how you dig into not just, oh, I just want to make money. You noticed he said, I'd like it to be profitable. You know, profitable, some people is $100 a month cash flow on a rental, and to some they won't touch it unless it's got 3. So you really need to dig down and find out what do your buyers really want. So today's takeaway is if you have not found enough investors to be selling to, make sure that you get into more investment groups. There are just a couple of websites on here, the CREonline.com and Bigger Pockets. Those are just a couple of the sites that are out there that help you find real estate investing clubs. You'll want to just do a Google search for your city and state, look for whatever is inside your city and whatever is not too far outside of your city, and of course those demographics vary quite a bit. But start with where you live. Some people are going to have 1 club, some will have none in their city, they have to drive an hour away, and some have 5 within an hour. So those demographics we can't control, but what you can control is getting out there and meeting as many real estate investor buyers as you can find. So a lot of them on the sites, they look like this, the real estate investment clubs as a title, and then they've got the states down below, and you just click on the state that you want to find the clubs in and then start contacting them. Now, step number 2, remember, is finding properties. Oh, before we get there, Steve, did you have anything else to say about step 1, finding investor buyers?
Just that it's really an ideal place to go is the real estate investment club to find people that you can network with. And there are a lot of people that are there that want to do deals. One of the harder things to do in this business is finding a good deal. If you can do that, you'll have a lot of people that you can be able to flip the deal to at the investor club. So it's good to get in there, meet people that are like-minded, find out what they're doing, share resources. It's just a great well of information as well as resources as well as people that you can work with.
Excellent. So week 2, finding properties. Distressed homes are one of the very best, easiest ways to find good wholesale deals. They can be vacant homes, condemned, disaster houses, like in some area. I'm going to forget. Last summer there were floods in some state down in the south. Do you guys remember where that was? They still have tons of flood homes all over the place. And so there are a lot of good deals down there, and I remember the state.
Texas, they had some in Texas.
Okay. And what's right next to it? Because I think it was not Texas that a couple of
Louisiana?
people... Yeah, Louisiana. Yep, they had some big old floods. So, you know, sometimes it's situational. There might be a situation where something like that just ravishes a whole area. And then a lot of times the fires, it's just a house, but it could be a mountainside fire. It could be a fire that took out several homes in a whole little area. So you just never know. You never know what kind of natural disasters are going to happen, what kind of house fires and personal disasters are going to happen. So distress houses for sure, distress sellers. A lot of times the sellers need to sell because of their situation. It has nothing to do with the condition of the home. And a lot of times those situations that are rough that cause the really good deals to pop up are divorce, probate, when people get job transfers and they're moving. So those are just some. You know, estate sales is something that I've seen people specialize in. So if you want to just do one type, you could do that. You can make contact with divorce attorneys and get in there with their clients and figure out if you can meet their needs. And they appreciate that because you can be somebody full of integrity that they can feel comfortable referring their clients to. A lot of people have to sell their houses when they get divorced. Sometimes one spouse can afford to keep it, but many, many times they can't. And the nice thing is that can be repeat business for you because they have a situation right now where they need to sell one house, but when they're both remarried or have moved on and they're ready to buy again, that could be 2 more clients for you down the road. So when you're looking for the deal, there are many, many places to find deals, just like you can find investor buyers, more places than just the REI clubs, obviously. That's just the first most logical place and the best place I've ever found to find a lot of buyers. Word of mouth, of course, is a good one. Same with finding the good deals. Word of mouth, it's always going to be a good one. But you can put flyers on doors. You can mail out postcards or letters. Driving around town, and again, this is city by city. Some cities have a ton of for sale by owners with signs out in the yard, and many cities, like ours nowadays, there are hardly any for sale by owner signs in the yards. If you're going to find them, you're going to find them online. So the classifieds, like the FSBO.com or forsalebywowner.com site, they're 2 different ones, but they both have good leads on there. So where do you find wholesales outside of the ones that we just mentioned? Here's a whole nother list for you. As you're getting the idea, at least I hope you're getting the idea, there are lots of places to find deals. But if you get stuck in a rut of only doing 1 or 2 things, you can miss out on some other good opportunities. So we encourage you to try a lot of different things and find out what works well in your area. Auctions, foreclosure sales sometimes are on the MLS. Foreclosure auctions are usually at your courthouse, like a local courthouse. And your tax deed sales, not your tax lien sales, but tax deed sales where you actually get title to the property. The estate sales and the sheriff sales, these are all fantastic places to get involved. Now, be warned that you usually have to have cash. So unless you have cash of your own where you're going to buy it and then resell it to someone, they probably have to have cash of their own. So look for cash investors, not people that are going to have to get a loan and have a 30-day closing time for this particular page, for this list. Steve, do you have comments on these? Steve Walquist, did I lose you?
I was muted. Yeah, so I was going to say, one of the things that you might notice is that when you're looking for buyers, and you're looking for properties, sometimes you're going to find them in the same place. So an auction, for example, is a great place to find buyers. It's also a great place to pick up great deals. And so you'll see some overlap there. Same thing with advertising. You might see some good things advertised, but you're also going to find that people that buy, fix, and flip stuff will be advertising houses that they've finished and they're fixing, or they fixed it and now they're trying to sell it. They'll be looking for another house soon, and so that's a nice place to be able to find people that you can wholesale to. So as you're going through, just keep in mind what your purpose is of being there, and realize that there might be more than one thing going on, and just keep your eyes and ears open.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. All right, so your third step, and what we cover in week 3, is how to negotiate. Negotiations are a very critical part of what you need to learn to be a good real estate investor. So when you're interviewing sellers, this goes back again to what they need. So think about what we talked about with the investor buyers. They have needs, they have wants, so do the sellers, so do you. So you can see how when you're wholesaling, it's not just about you going and getting a good deal for yourself, but you actually have 3 people in a triangle that you are needing to make sure all match up in certain ways, in different ways. So first of all, figure out what the seller really needs. Bottom line, what's the lowest price they can take, or is price not their issue? They need terms. And then be clear on what you want or need, and see if you can match those up, where you can match it. And then make sure everybody gets some of what they need. You don't ever want to go into a deal thinking you're getting everything that you want and who cares what they want. That's not the way to do business. So you're going to pay attention to what their needs are, and you will try to meet at least 1 or 2 of them. Now, when you're negotiating, remember that, in fact, Steve, this is something you speak very well to all the time. So talk to people about why it's so important to not always focus on the price, but to really pay attention to the terms and what that even means.
Yeah, so a lot of times when people are under pressure for one reason or another, their house is distressed or they're distressed, what they really know, most people, is that they have to sell the house and they have to sell it for a certain dollar amount. That's really all that they know, because they don't know the options. But when you get in and you start asking questions and find out really what it is that they need, you might find that there are things that you can do that will give them a better solution than just simply selling the house for X amount of dollars. So you might be able to help them unload a property that might save them from having to deal with a monthly payment they can't make, or it might be able to help them to avoid a tax situation with some, deferring some capital gains, for example. They might do better doing seller financing than just getting cashed out. And all of these different solutions propose different price points. And so kind of the way it works is that if you are going to give them their terms, you get your price. If you're going to work on your price, then you give them their terms. And so there's this kind of this balancing act that you go through, but you can't really balance things very well if you don't understand what it is they really want and what they need. And so you got to get in, you got to interview, and then you have to have a good tool belt, if you will, of different options that you understand and know that you can be able to propose to them, show them how you can help them solve their problem.
Mm-hmm. Okay, excellent, thank you. So when you are working on writing a contract and presenting the offer, again, there are some skills in there, but don't worry about needing all those skills right up front. They're ones that will generally be developed as you continue to practice. The more houses you go to, the more sellers you talk to, even to your investor buyers, the more presentations you do, the better you get. So don't stop yourself just because you're a little bit worried you're going to do it wrong. In fact, I would challenge you to expect you're going to do some things wrong and to just be okay with it and figure it out and figure out how to fix it when you can. Now, that being said, hopefully it's just a flub of the tongue. You don't do something wrong in the contract. There are certain things for contracts that you need to be careful with, and that's what we cover in week 4, are the things that are critical to have in a contract, the things that are just more important, and that could be important for the seller, important to you, or important to your investor buyer. And then there are things that aren't even very critical at all or important. They're just part of the generic language of most contracts. So contractese is nice to learn. It's important that you understand which paragraphs you can really mess up on and get yourself in trouble with, and which ones are just, oh, that's not a big deal. But when you know how to fill out a contract, you're going to be more confident in your presentations, and that's what we focus on in week 4. Is contracts are designed to keep everybody safe. So what's important to keep you safe? What's important to watch out for the other people? Obviously, they need to represent themselves too, but if it looks like you're trying to take advantage of them, that could cause you a problem in the long run. And there are certain states like California, very, very, very specific and very protective of the people that are in foreclosure. So if you're investing in California, whether you live there or not, if you're just investing there, you need to understand how those contracts are different than, say, Texas or Wisconsin. There are definite different things you have to watch out for that could make it look like you're one of those investors that just takes advantage and preys on people. And that's obviously not the reputation you want, but it's also not the right thing to do. So you just have to make sure your contract reflects that, so people know that you really are trying to stay above board and always doing your best to make sure those contracts are legal and ethical. So once you have negotiated a deal, you need to get it in writing as soon as possible. If it doesn't have something in writing, if there's nothing written, if you don't have, and I say something in writing because it doesn't have to be on a formal contract, right? It could be on a piece of paper, it could be on a brown paper bag. As long as something is written that is a contract between you and the other party, and you've both signed to it, and there's been an exchange of value. Those are the 3 most important parts of contract law. You have to have those 3 things met. Now that doesn't mean you need to give them a lot of cash, but something of value. There needs to be a value exchange to really solidify a contract. So those things are things that we discuss about presenting, not just writing the contract, yes, that's important, but also presenting it well to the other party so they can understand.
Before you leave that,
Okay.
you can or you don't need to, but
Okay.
I just wanted to emphasize 2 things. One is that you want to be able to get contracts and have contracts available so that when you go talk to somebody, you can put it in writing.
Mm-hmm.
But the other piece of that is that you want to practice filling out those contracts so that you understand what goes in all of the spaces and you're comfortable with that, so that when you are sitting down and talking to somebody and you've convinced them that you can solve their problem because you've got all these answers for them, you want to look competent when you fill out that contract, because if it looks like you don't know how to fill out the contract, they're going to be very suspicious that you won't be able to solve their problem either.
Yep.
So that's just part of looking professional and having them anchor their trust,
Mm-hmm.
and so that they don't skittish and back out of the deal.
And one thing I found was really helpful, if you guys don't know exactly which way it's going to go, let's say more on price or more towards terms, you can actually pre-fill in most or all of 2 different offers that you're giving them, and then you don't have to try to remember to not miss a line or what was I supposed to put in here. So if you're pretty new at that, just fill out the 2 different options, present them to them, and say which is better for you, and they can choose, and you guys can sign that one, so you don't have to look too incompetent when you're sitting at their kitchen table and it's your first time you've ever offered. So selling your deal to your buyer. We cover marketing ideas, contacting buyers who fit the deal, because sometimes maybe you have 3 people on your list and none of them fit, either because it's not the right kind of property for them or it's not the right timing for them. They might have just tied up all their cash, and so you need to go and find some other people that would fit that deal. And then the difference between taking an assignment fee or doing a direct sale. So what we were talking about with the double close earlier, an A to B and a B to C contract, and then negotiating the deal out and getting paid. Did you want to go over that cartoon, Steve?
No, that's self-explanatory.
I just love that you put cartoons in our stuff. So tips for negotiating. There are some specific techniques that you can pick up and practice as part of the art of negotiation. Really what we've talked about, though, as far as understanding everybody's needs, that is the most critical part to being a good negotiator. When you know the other factors that are involved, you can sort and sift through them a little bit better and present more cleanly instead of trying to figure out everything that works for everybody. That's obviously not going to work. somebody's going to have to give up. Probably both parties are going to have to give up some of what they want. And this little tip, he who speaks first loses. It's important to learn how to stop speaking for a little while and listen, especially when you throw an offer out there. Don't quick follow it up with, or we could just do this. Just throw it out there, see what they say, let them come back to you, and then you do it back and forth like that until you come up to your final agreement. Rule of thumb, Steve's definitely better at this than I am, but never accept the first offer. You can always say, Steve, show us how it's done. I love how you do this.
Okay. Well, you want to make sure that they feel comfortable with the negotiation, and people feel comfortable when they feel like they've done a good job on their side and they've gotten as much out of the deal as they possibly can. So if they don't meet any resistance from you, they're going to be second guessing that all the way down the line, right? You offered some, or they offered something, you said yes, and now they're thinking, wow, I could have done better. So you want to give them some resistance, even if it's not that much. You got to get some pushback. And so if they make an offer of some sort, or they give you a price, whether they're buying or they're selling, you want to make sure that you come back with something that gives you a little bit more, and fight for it. And even if it only ends up that you start off $10,000 apart and you end up being $1,000 away from what the number was that they gave you, they had to fight for that extra $1,000, right? And so at least they know that they fought for it. Now they're much more happier with the deal than they would be if they had to question whether or not they could have done better.
And that's exactly what it is. You guys will know that's true if you can think back to a time you ever said, oh, I wonder if I could have gotten it for less. Like car negotiations, that's a perfect example. Maybe if I had just asked them to take $1,000 or $2,000 off, they would have. And a lot of times they do, just for the asking. So if you never ask, sometimes you walk away and kick yourself. So that's exactly what Steve's talking about. You don't want the people to ever second guess that they could have gotten a better deal out of you. It really creates peace and then less resistance inside of them if they know that they did their very, very best. So this part, Steve already talked to you about having a contract with you at all times. It's important to keep one with you. Also, having a proof of funds letter. You can get a free proof of funds letter. A POF is what it's commonly referred to in real estate lingo. And you can go onto this site, besttransactionalfunding.com, and you can literally type up a proof of funds letter in a very short amount of time. It took me about 5 minutes last time I was on that site. I doubt it's any more complicated now. And that's actually how I got my wholesale deal under contract, because if you just send in an offer and you don't have a bank statement or a proof of funds letter to go with it, a lot of times the sellers, especially these days, won't even look at your offer or take it seriously. So you need something that makes you look credible, that you can get financed or you have cash backing you. Steve, any comments about that?
Just that having that proof of funds letter for a lot of real estate agents that's what opens the door to you even working with them. If they don't know that you can close on the deal, they don't even want to take time to show you houses or pull comps for you. Yep. So that's a really great beginning place if you're going to work with a real estate agent or any listed properties. Get that proof of funds letter. It goes right with the contract, and that's what's going to make a lot of things work for you.
Yep, good. Now, week 6 currently on the wholesaling is, if it's a live course, we do a lot of review and practicing. We can do role-playing like Steve and I did at the beginning, where he was the investor and I was asking him questions. This can really help you get much more comfortable with the scripts or with negotiations. But if you decide to purchase the recorded version, we're actually going to walk you through on week number 6 how to analyze deals deeper, so that you can understand better, so that when your investor buyers talk to you and they tell you, well, I'm expecting this, you know how to calculate that and figure it out on the deal, so you can find if you can even find deals that fit their criteria. So developing skills takes practice. That's why on the live courses and even sometimes in the daily accountability, we will practice. I role play with people all the time. Whether you practice with us or with us and someone else, you can practice with a spouse, with your kids, with another investor that you might meet at one of the clubs, and really don't be afraid to goof up. The more you goof it up, the better you learn how to fix it. So that would be my message to you, and the takeaway on week 6 is practice, practice, get comfortable, use us to practice. That's what we're here for, and pretty soon you can just throw the script away because it's all in your head and you feel comfortable just talking to anybody, anywhere. You can literally just sit down with anyone, find out what their needs are, whether they're a buyer, a seller, if they're in distress, if they're having a life change, what they want, if they're an investor as far as rentals, fix and flip, wholesale deals, what kind of return they're looking for, and you will become an information gatherer. And then you can sort and sift through that information easier and start putting things together. This person's good with that, and that person needs this, and you become a connector out there, and connectors make good money when you get to help solve somebody's problems and fix somebody else's wants and needs. When you get to do it all at once in the same deal, it's even better. I love it. So we do have additional products and services. We've got the group webinars. Right now we have, you can check my brain here because sometimes I forget the order. Seller financing, we've got rentals, we've got buy, fix, and flip. We have foreclosures and bank-owned properties and wholesaling. And if you need more than that, we'll put it together for you. Those are just 5 of the top techniques that I've loved, that Steve and I are experienced in. So Steve's done way more commercial than I have, so if you would like to learn more about commercial properties, he would be a good one to do some accountability coaching with. So we have those options for you, but those are the current group webinars. Then we have the one-on-one appointments. You can do them one at a time and pay as you go. You can buy them as a bundle. We oftentimes bundle the webinars with the daily accountability and the one-on-one coaching. That seems to be kind of the magic trio, that you get a little bit of everything that you need, and all together it's more successful than if you just try to do one or the other. Daily group accountability calls are good just for the consistency. It's too easy to let a week go by and not do anything on your business, especially when you're brand new. So that helps keep you focused on what you need to be doing every week to make progress, so that 6 months from now you have your deals done. 5 years from now you have your business running the way that you want it to. So I would challenge you guys to really look at what you're doing with your life. Where do you want to be in 5 years from now? And then pick out the things that you think you need. And if you don't know for sure, you can always ask us. We can ask you some questions and see if a little bit of the one-on-one support might be more important for you, or the group coaching, or together as a combo. And then we also provide scripts and contracts. So if you need some of those, and just different forms, we'll continue to add to those all the time as well. People will ask us, hey, do you have something for this? And we'll type it up. So there will be more and more of those. If you need a form or a script on anything, just let us know. We can provide that for you. And so, oh, look here. I didn't know you had them all listed out. So 6-week series on each topic. There you go. Rentals, fix and flip, bank-owned, seller financing, commercial. What did we miss on this one, though? Rentals, fix and flip, seller financing, bank-owned, commercial. Oh, the wholesaling. Because we already talked about wholesaling tonight. These are the other topics that we haven't covered yet. Yeah, so there you go. That's why we're one short. So commercial, and then mobile home parks and storage units, which are fantastic long-term residual income and cash flow. So wholesaling plus these other 6. Those are the total of what we offer currently. Now, we do have life coaching and personal development coaching as well. If you're struggling with time management, money management, divorce, any kind of grief or loss, and you just kind of can't get it together and you need some accountability on taking one step and then another step and another step, and addiction recovery. So those are specific things that we have coached for, that we continue to coach for. But again, if there's something that you feel you need specific help with, let us know. We can definitely focus in on what your needs are. Now, the business development goes as far as, I started a business, now I need help getting my taxes and my entity set up, or diving in deeper into your marketing, because remember, nothing happens in your business until you have more marketing and sales. What is the difference between hiring an employee versus an independent contractor? Some of the pros and cons. helping you learn how to interview and hire better, scaling and duplication so that you can work your way out of the business eventually if you want to do that, and leadership skills, and how to run and grow a business. So that's who we are. That's what we do. We are found many different ways nowadays. Tyrell has us set up on the YouTube channel. You can find us there. You can always text. That's better. You can call me on the phone too, but it's better to start by text to get my attention faster that way. And our website is iliveaccelerated.com. And our Facebook page, if you haven't liked it already, go on there and like. So you can like the Facebook page at Accelerated Real Estate Investing, and you can subscribe to the YouTube channel. Let's go into a little bit of Q&A. Ooh, we did well. I think, Donald, you're going to be able to get to your meeting on time. So it was a little bit shorter. We're going to open it up for Q&A if anybody has any.
Hi, Kristen. I just had one question for
Sure.
these guys. If they're willing to answer, they might be self-muted or muted by us.
They are. No, I just everybody, but they're self-muted. So if they have any questions, they can chat them over if they don't want to talk out loud.
Okay, perfect. I just want to commend you guys. This was kind of it started out kind of being one of those head-scratching sort of events, and once we all really figured out how to make this happen, I think it came together very well for me personally. So I just want to thank both of you guys. I thought that was awesome, and I just want to ask these guys if that made sense for what it is that this, because this is what each week for the next couple weeks will be like, is just this kind of bird's eye view of what these techniques are like as we go through each week within the individual techniques. So did we find this helpful? Did it give us some perspective? Just kind of that generic question is what I kind of want to pose.
And since you're probably going to be quiet and just use the chat if you have any comments, I do want to throw in here, you guys are always welcome to send longer messages on Facebook or on the website if you feel like there's not enough one-on-one time or you don't want to ask a question out loud. You can always send an email, and we'll take care of you that way too, or a private message on Facebook, so that you don't feel like you have to throw yourself out there in front of the whole world on a recording. I'm not seeing any comments, so I think we'll wrap up for the night. Thank you guys for coming. It's always nice to have you. And next week, I don't think we have our specific topic picked out, so stay tuned. We'll announce it on Facebook, and hopefully we'll see you there then. Have a fantastic week. Blessings to all of you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
We did get a thank you. You're super welcome. Thanks for coming.